Hey, Doug here. One of my friends aptly described me one time as a guy who deer hunts so that I can play with rifles, as opposed to Britt, who said he buys guns so that he can deer hunt. So he buys guns so that he can deer hunt, and he says that I deer hunt so that I can experiment with guns. That having been said, I ordered this year some specialized bullets for my 357 Maximum, and these are made by Fury. And I will see if I can show that to you right there. And this is my load right here, which you can read if you want to. And these bullets ended up being about 2,150 feet per second, which was really slow, I thought, for this particular bullet. It should be up around 2,250, maybe 2,300, and I could probably add more H110 to that mix to make that happen. But I had an opportunity to shoot 2 deer with this load, and the first deer that I shot was walking right towards me, maybe quartering just slightly to my right, and it was apparent that she was not going to come any closer, so I shot her in the near shoulder brisket area. And when I took the doe to the butcher, I said, "Hey, Eric, please look for the bullet on this thing." And he found just the core in the hindquarters of the animal, never found the jacket, which may be because it was in the guts. I'm guessing it was in the guts. But interesting thing about the core was it hadn't mushroomed or really changed shape much at all, and I think it weighed 148 grains. Now, for all you techno geeks out there, just like me, you're always wondering what gun I'm using, and this is the gun that I was using. It's a 357 Max barrel made by Magic Grade Machine out of Utah, MGM, and they put this really cool barbed wire on it for me. I just absolutely love that. And this is a silencer co and suppressor, and it's a 9mm suppressor that they have approved to be used on this gun, and it does a nice job. So typically I will hunt with a 140 grain FTX Hornady bullet, and the criticism I have with that bullet is when I find it, it is basically blown to pieces, either fragments or very little of the bullet left. That having been said, I always find the dead deer because it puts a whooping on them, and I have never lost a deer because of the bullet. I've only lost 1 deer in 4 years of hunting with it, which represents probably 25 does, and I think I shot her at over 200 yards and hit her too far forward in the shoulder. She ran off, we never found her. But other than that, the bullets have performed very nicely, but I thought I'd try to upgrade by going to the Fury 158 grain Spirepoint bullet. So what I'm going to do today is the poor man's gelatin shoot. I have milk jugs set up, and we're going to shoot into the milk jugs and try to recover the bullet and see what kind of expansion we get, if any. So, all right. One of the reasons I watch YouTube a lot is I get good ideas from different hunters, and this is a great idea right here. This is a trigger stick. I have 3 of them. The camera that I'm using right now is on my tall tripod, and if you're going to do any filming whatsoever for YouTube, you owe it to the viewer to put your camera on a tripod so that we don't have to get car sick with your camera going all over the place. But the beautiful part about these is, I know this is a monopod and all that stuff, but I can adjust this with the trigger stick so quickly. I pull the trigger, I adjust the camera so it's nice and level, and I walk away from it. We use this a lot for goose hunting, and I'll just throw it out in the decoys or put it by the blinds and get some really nice steady video. And the tripods really work well. I don't have any bipods. I have 1 monopod and 2 bipods. They serve me really well. So I'm going to shoot a 158 grain Fury at about 2,150 feet per second at the milk jugs. By the way, just want to let you know, if you're into planting trees, I'm just going to show you some of my trees here, and you are a sportsman, One thing you can do here is plant your trees at designated distances. So all of my trees that you see here, here's an adjustment, are exactly 10 yards or 30 feet apart. So when we come out in the summertime and want to shoot some bows or whatever, I know exactly where that is. So that having been said, we're going to shoot this at about 10 yards. And try to recover the bullet. Here we go. All right. I think I had 6 jugs lined up, and I see 1 jug obliterated, 2 jugs obliterated. Sign of the 1,200 foot-pounds of energy. Jug number 3's got a hole clean through it, and jug number 4 here has a hole in one side and not in the other. I set these satellite jugs up here so that if one veers off a little bit, I have a half a chance of catching it. So as you see, I take the cap off and it is pouring out quite a bit. So let's empty this thing out, see if we can find the bullet. All right, let's see if we can get a close-up of that. All right, unlike the deer I shot in the brisket that had no expansion, this bullet rolled back very nicely. I would say if you included that, there was a 1 inch. I'm guessing if that actually hit something substantial, it would have ripped off, but even still, we're looking at a ½ inch beautiful mushroom there with about half of the base left. So that is a very nice example of expansion, and that's what I was looking for. I didn't mention it before, but I did shoot a deer at 95 yards broadside, and we never recovered that deer. We never found any blood whatsoever. It ran in a cornfield and we just could not find it. And I think the error of our ways might have been the fact that it was snowing quite heavily, and it continued to snow quite heavily, and we let about 2.5 inches of snow pile up before we looked for her, and we couldn't even find her track. So if you think blood is going to melt landing snow and show you where it is, I guess the lesson to be learned there is, well, maybe not so much. So those are the heartbreaks of deer hunting. I always say for every great experience you have deer hunting, you have 20 screw-ups. So that's the story there. So very nice. I'm going to throw this on the scales and see what it weighs for retention, but I'm guessing it's pretty close to 158, and we'll give you that information further. Alright, so let's wrap it up with some statistics. I measured the weight of the bullet, and I was a little off on the first one. I told you that the core weighed 148. It actually weighed 112.4 grains that was left from the bullet. And so I measured this one. It weighed 154.8 grains, so that is a really good weight retention. The core of the bullet measured 0.670 of an inch, so well over a ½ inch expansion there, which is 187% larger than the original. And I measured the wing that was out there, which was the actual total, and that was 0.980. So pretty decent expansion on that bullet. I'm sure I could push it another 200 feet per second faster. I got them right before deer season, so I threw a safe load on them and called it good. So that's the story with the 158 grain Fury Spirepoint bullet made right here in this great state of Michigan. Dug out.